How'd it go away from the other one?
Because nobody could hear him.
Nobody could hear him right. Fred, where's your mic? You need a microphone? Are you sure? I can hook you up. Did you know CJ and I don't need it over here? I'll pass mine. Absolutely.
Six p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the City of Williston City Council. Mrs. Wright, would you call roll, please?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Councilman Head.
Here.
Vice President Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Ross.
Here.
City Manager Gorman. City Attorney Fred Coberlin.
Here.
Deputy City Manager C.J. Zamosky.
Here.
Finance Director Stephen Bloom. He should be online. The City Clerk Latricia Wright.
Okay, thank you. I gotta back this thing off a little bit. You hear me? All right.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Finance Director Stephen Bloom is in the lobby.
Okay, thank you. If you will, please stand with us and join us in the pledge and prayer led by the Mayor.
Lord, we come to you on the eve of Thanksgiving week. We have received so many blessings you have bestowed on us, yet we take these things for granted and do not give you the proper things that you deserve. So Lord, please accept our thanks for all that you do for us. We come here tonight asking that you guide our national leaders to do what is right for our beloved country. Heal our land from the violence and the disease that is running rampant today. We pray, Lord, that you will be with our military men and women who are unable to be with their families this Thanksgiving. Protect and provide for them. Be with our first responders and protect them in all that they do, especially during the holiday season. Be with this council tonight, lead, guide, and provide your wisdom to them so that they will make the right decisions for this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 1 is additions, deletions, changes, and approval of the agenda.
Move the agenda be accepted as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, item 1 carries. Item 2 is public participation. This is a chance for anyone that is in the public to come up and speak. If you'll please come to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes to speak once you begin. If you will, state your name and city of residence for the record. And please, if you have an agenda item to discuss, please wait until that item comes up. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Ackley, ACCLIG, Williston, Florida. And I'm standing with Vonda Williams. Vonda Williams, Williston, Florida.
Okay.
a little nervous about this, so you guys just bear with me. Again, my name's Jacqueline Acklin, and I'm standing, tonight, with Cornelius Williams' daughter, Rhonda Williams. And I'm in hope of rejuvenating or revisiting a project entitled the Cornelius Williams Project, located off of Highway 27A. My mission and vision with this project, goes back as far as 2011, with a group of volunteers called CSI, Citizens Seeking Improvement. I'm hoping that we continue making this mission and vision tonight by asking the council members and the park rec liaison for support and guidance, as we revisit this project and see it through reality for the community of Williston. We would like to form a committee of volunteers who will be recognized by the council and the park liaison as we develop and follow your guidance, a plan to address issues at Cornelius Williams Park, such as maintenance and improvement, accessibility to the park, utilization of the park and other areas, just as some things that were started before. I have spoken with several people or ladies in the city hall, and I've asked their permission to use their names because they give me the guidance to continue this project. Mrs. Tricia Wright, she's helped me grounded on the procedures needed. Ms. Laura Jones, she's helped me with information about future grants for the park. And Ms. Jackie Gorman, she's guided me with rules and regulations. So I've tried to follow all the protocol. As well as Mr. Albert Fuller. He's the advisory person that's helped Vonda and I learn how to stand up and present ourselves tonight and what was needed, and hopefully getting on the agenda for the next board meeting to present you with possible plans and designs for future things will happen at Cornelius Williams Park. I mention many of these names because they have supported us and guided us to revisit the vision of not only Cornelius Williams Park, but of other parks in our community. I know I have time, but I just want to leave this message and this thought with everyone. Our park should be a place that's safe, maintained, accessible, utilized, and welcoming to our children, our families, our community, and our visitors. This is our vision and hopes of restarting Cornelius Williams project as well as other parks. So I thank you for listening to me, and like I say, this is just a foundation, and I'm sure you will see the end.
Okay.
And just thank you so much for your time tonight.
Great. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
So did I hear a request to put it on the next agenda?
I would like to see it on the next agenda. That's right.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Still in public participation, would anyone else like to speak? Or, okay. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Hey, I'm Joel Penny, I live in Williston. I just want to tell Jackie and CJ what a great job and everything, pruning that tree and everything. Y'all are just fast. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else here or online here?
Anyone online need to speak? Unmute your mic. Nothing heard.
Okay. Wayne, anybody out in the hall or anywhere? Okay. All right, thank you. Item 3 is consent agenda. Consists of council minutes from November 4th, 2020, and Resolution 2020-76, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, authorizing the purchase of a Wood Miser LT-15 wide sawmill in the amount of $11,695.
I move the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All right, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4, old business. Staff and board and counselor updates. We'll start with City Manager Gorman.
I have.
On.
I don't have it.
One more.
I did.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
I do not have anything, for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I know, but
Deputy City Manager?
Don't have a whole lot to add tonight, either. We do have our inmate crew back on full-time. They were released last Friday. So hopefully we'll get a little more work done at this time.
Okay.
Our what crew?
Our inmate work crew.
Okay.
So the prison had shut that down due to the
Perfect.
COVID, now they're releasing them, so
Okay.
they haven't recalled them with this newest outbreak.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Wright, anything?
I'm sorry. I just wanna ask, I know I am a month ahead, but our meeting on December the 22nd, I wanna know if you all still want to have that meeting or reschedule it, since it's so close to Christmas break.
Did you have a proposed date to reschedule?
No, sir. Or do you still wanna have it on the 22nd?
I'll be out of town the following week, so I'd prefer to have it on the 22nd rather than the next week.
22nd is fine with me. Is our first meeting in December on the 8th or?
Yes, ma'am.
I know it's early, but as you said, I suggest we wait and see if there's anything pressing, and decide at the 8th meeting.
Okay.
And if there's, we should know by then if there's anything gonna be on the agenda that needs to be handled, don't you think? And then, if not, I think we could skip it altogether, because I know we have in the past.
Okay,
What do you think?
that's fine with me, we can wait and address it on the 8th. Mr. Ross, any comments?
No,
Thank you.
whenever's fine with me.
Mayor?
I know in the past that, when it's gotten that close to Christmas, that they have canceled.
Okay.
So I'll bring it at the next meeting.
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other staff have any updates for us? No? Okay. Counselor updates, Mr. Ross, anything?
Same question, what about the garbage pickup? Fourth time. Where are we?
Trying to keep everybody up to date through the staff report that I do every week, or the weekly report. We're still working on the contract with them. It's in progress. We should have it done pretty soon. There's a lot of things that we have to review to get this right. So it's taken a little bit of time, but we're almost there.
Well, I know things are beginning to look awful shoddy around town with all the waste and trash piled up beside the streets, and we sure ought to get something done as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk to them again. We've been monitoring all the complaints. I know during the storm, landfill was closed, they had a hard time emptying trucks. So if we're talking the last week, that's one of the issues that we had. But we're trying to work on some of these issues as we get the complaint. We talk to them about getting out of the truck and picking up the trash around the dumpsters, and we're working with businesses to try and get larger dumpsters. We have more problems out there than I think anybody ever realized, with other people dumping their garbage in some of these dumpsters and they overflow. So we're working with them and trying to get information out to our residents, making sure everybody understands the rules on the pickup, trying to convince a lot of our commercials to maybe do some enclosures that will stop some, the abuse of some of these folks dumping all their garbage into these dumpsters. So we have a lot to do, but I think they're honestly trying. And one of the challenges we have now is we're working on a program that's been in place for a while, trying to get that to work a little better. We have a computer program that monitors all the complaints and the responses to those complaints. We're trying to clean that up, find out if there's a problem that might be common with most of our complaints or not. But we got the draft back less than 2 weeks ago, so we're really trying to work to get this completed. So hopefully we'll get it to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ross, anything else?
No, I don't believe so, not at this time, no.
Ms. Jones?
I'd just like to say that during the hurricane, we had a tree go down on my son's house in the city limits. And it was on private property, but I want to thank the city for coming by and checking on us, checking to make sure that we had what we needed. And we did. We had people who responded right away to come, people that we knew who had the equipment that could help. But we had Wayne, we had the chief and the deputy, we had a lot of police officers that stopped by all throughout the day, because it took us from about 6:30 in the morning till probably 6 o'clock at night. But we got the whole tree cut up, off the house, cut up and hauled off, just because we knew the right people. And I just want to thank everybody for checking on us. The other thing, and I could call into a work order if I need to, the light at Northwest 2nd and 7th Street, same one that I always complain about, has been out for months again. And it keeps going out. I don't know if it's got a ballast. I don't know what street lights have. I don't know that they have ballast, but whatever it's got, there's something wrong with it. And it's really dark on that corner without it. And that's all I have.
Okay. Vice President Robinson?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Mayor? No? Okay. I'm gonna make one comment, statement. This is not an agenda item, but I wanna address something that came up last week, some questions that I've got. The mayor put out a comment publicly, last week after the meeting about some questions that were brought up, regarding a meeting at the airport that Mr. Goodman had presented some time back. I just wanna make the statement that, I think the mayor responded to the questions that have been asked, but I feel very comfortable with that meeting. I was at that meeting, just so that everybody knows. I was asked by City Manager then Littman, who was about to leave, to attend the meeting in his absence. I asked him about President Goodman going instead of me, but he asked me to attend based on my business background and some things that were going on. So I was at the meeting, the mayor was at the meeting, which is perfectly fine within the Sunshine Law. There was 8 or 9 parties at the meeting in total. We had consultants, we had people from the county, we had a private business owner, and it was all about the potential for a large business that was looking to relocate, and they had some interest, or he at least was gonna try to present them with some interest to come to the industrial park at the airport. It was basically an informational meeting to discuss things about how we would address this. There was a very sincere request from the business owner to have the potential business that may relocate to remain private at that time. It was the best thing for the city because we didn't want to compete with other people to reach out to them, and it was the best for the business, so that name was not disclosed. What bothered me most about it was the term secret meetings or backdoor meetings or whatever you want to call it. Mr. Goodman was not there. I can assure you this was not a secret meeting by any means. We had 8 or 9 people there, and it was in the conference room at the airport. We did close the door because general staff at the airport was not privy to that information. But Airport Manager Stiegel was there, along with a lot of other folks. We discussed the issue that the business may possibly want to relocate here. During that discussion, we talked about the fact that there was a need for an environmental study at the airport anyway, on a piece of ground that could be considered. There was a lot of discussion about possibly getting the county to help us pay for that, grant funding, a lot of options, and Mr. Stiegel pursued after that. And eventually that item came here to this council for discussion and action, and we voted to approve the environmental study. And since then, it's been completely funded, not out of our pockets, but out of grant funding, is my understanding. So I just wanted to clear that up. Sometimes when I remain quiet, I feel like it's an admission of guilt, and it's not at all. I wanted to clarify and just let the public understand that we were acting in the best interest of the city. The mayor and I were both there. I was invited to be there by the city manager at the time, so I felt that it was appropriate. And that's my statement on it. I appreciate you understanding that and understanding the sensitivity of the matter sometimes when it comes to a business that may want to relocate here. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to item B under old business, discussion of possible action. Continued discussion of park hours. This has my name on it, but I know we discussed it last week. Does staff have any update on this? Okay. There was a request to have an event at one of our parks well into the night, and we currently have signs at our parks that say they'll close at dusk, basically. So it was outside of those posted rules. We do not have, my understanding is we do not have a resolution or an ordinance in place to actually set those park hours, and that's what we had discussed, correct?
Yes, I was actually on vacation last week.
Okay.
We have not taken a bunch of action on that. I anticipate that coming back after the first of the year. There's a little more to it than just setting that time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions on that, council? Okay. All right, item 5 is new business. Item A, discussion with possible action, surplus and sale of the 2007 F-550 squad truck. Fire Chief Lamar Stevens.
Yes.
That gotta be close.
Gotta be real close. This is the truck we had actually talked about trying to replace in the budget. We, moved it, it was taken out of the budget, moved into grant funding. About a week and a half ago, it blew the engine in it. It's right at $36,000 to replace the engine in that truck. So I don't see fixing the engine in that truck, in a 2007 truck, for that. So what I'm asking for is the chance to go ahead and surplus that truck and just sell it as is.
I don't know what kind of motor that is, but.
It's one of the F-550s that you have to remove the whole cab and set it off to the side to replace the engine in it.
Okay. Any questions, council?
No,
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Just informational, I forgot to mention it earlier, that the jaws of life that we wanted to replace also broke during the same week.
Ah.
We're currently looking at getting those repaired, to see what a price is to repair those, and we're using several loaners at this time.
Okay. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right, so the agenda item for possible action is to approve the surplus and sale of that F-550 squad truck. I think we can do that by consensus. Everybody in agreement? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Have our approval. Thank you. Try to fix the jaws of life, will you?
I might need them.
Item B, Resolution 2020-77, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the cooperative funding contract Q197 with the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and 2 contracts for engineering services with Wright Pierce for the John Henry Park Stormwater Improvements Option B project. Dennis Davis with Wright Pierce.
Thank you, President Head. I think we have a presentation for you. Is that in the package? Okay. Okay, that's fine. I can do it without a presentation. If you remember, we submitted a grant application for stormwater improvements at John Henry Park. We did that, back in, give me 1 second. We submitted it back in October of 2019. So, and it was approved, and it's for $963,000. When we submitted that, we thought we were going to do our 25% match for that via in-kind services. We started going through the grant contracting process in July of this year. We found out from the grant agency that we actually had the city had to pony up the money, and they wouldn't take in-kind services. So in August of this year, we brought that in front of the council, and the council approved resolution 2020-43, approving that we move forward with the grant application process, with the city providing the 25% match for this project. So we've moved forward now, so we're at the next steps of this project. This agenda item does a couple of different things. Number one, it provides approval of the cooperative funding agreement between the Water Management District and the City of Williston. So this is for the $963,000. That paperwork has been forwarded over to City Manager Gorman, and she has reviewed all of that, and we just need approval for her to sign that and enter into that contract. Also on this item then is also the engineering design fees for Wright Pierce to do the design of the stormwater project. In the budget for that project that was set as part of your watershed management plan that Jones Edmonds had prepared, there was roughly $220,000 in there for design. I believe our proposal is on there for $217,000 underneath that funding limit for that. As we walked through this project with CJ, one of the things that came up was that there is some additional work that while we're doing this, it makes sense to do. So, of course, the work that we're doing is right on the two streets that border the park. CJ, what those are, 4th and 5th? Is that? I always get those mixed up.
It'll be 3rd to 5th.
3rd to 5th. So CJ had identified that there's both some water main that needs to be replaced in that area, as well as some sewer that needs to be installed with the new houses that are going in over there by you, Councilor Jones. There needs to be a sewer extension. So while we're doing this, there's a separate scope of work that's about $10,000 for us to do the permitting and survey work that needs to be done for that water and sewer work. Ultimately, the city will construct that water and sewer work themselves at the same time as all of the other work is going to be done by an outside contractor for the stormwater improvements. So in total, this agenda item is asking approval for 3 things. Again, the approval for City Manager Gorman to enter into the contract with the Southwest Florida Water Management District for the cooperative funding agreement, and then 2 contracts with Wright Pierce to do the design work for the projects.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Council, any questions?
I have a totally different question. On the map that we have, there are these little pink squares and these little
Yeah.
purple squares. What are those things?
Sure. The purple squares are going to be what we call catch basins. So when you walk outside and you see a ditch and it's got a little concrete box and there's a metal top, grate top,
Yep.
that's a catch basin.
Okay.
The water will flow into those and ultimately discharge to the pond or the borrow pit up on the north end of the project site. The purple line, or the pink lines on there represent a swale that will be constructed around the park area. So this is just a grass swale. And the pink blocks are what we call ditch blocks. So there'll be little mounds within the ditch that will kind of hold the water back so that it has a chance to percolate within that ditch there, or that swale. If the water gets high enough, it will continue to flow, but it just gives it a chance to percolate there.
And the blue lines that are around the current green space, is that particular area being deepened? Are you digging it deeper?
Yes.
Is that what that's indicating?
That's right. So
It looks like to me it is.
Yeah, that's going to be a dry retention pond. So it will normally be dry, and in the events when we have these big storms and the water runs down to that area, the water will go into that pond,
Right.
Stage up, and then you can see there's the little green square inside those blue lines. That water will flow out and into that pipe system into the pond up there.
I mean, it's a dry retention pond now, but you're digging it deeper, is that what I'm?
That's correct.
showing? Okay.
We need more storage capacity there for all of that water, and so between the swales and that pond, that's what's gonna get that.
Are you gonna have to put a fence around it?
We'll have to look into
Don't
that
know yet.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, we started having that conversation with CJ, a couple of weeks ago. I think we'll have to see exactly how deep that needs to be, and then, what the city wants to do there.
I mean, people play in it now, the children play in it,
Yeah.
because it is, as you say, a dry pond now. and not real deep, and they play in it.
Yeah.
All the time, so it's big green.
Yeah,
Thank you
you know,
so
I think
much.
we'll wanna see how deep in, you know, in this design, how deep the water gets.
Right.
And then evaluate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Northeast corner, is that going to, create a problem with the parking?
I think it's right on top of it.
Well, there might be some temporary interruptions, but everything will be looked over right there. So it won't, you know, other than while we're constructing it, no.
I mean, we just did that new parking area there. Is it going to disrupt that? No, it's gonna be inside that area,
Yes.
more toward the fence than,
Yeah, we're gonna try our best to keep it in the grass.
okay. Thank you.
Any other council questions? Staff, anything to add?
I would like to add, if I can, planning takes time. So as you know, this has been going on for a couple of years now. So we're really excited to get moving, but I hear a lot of comments from citizens about, I want a splash park, I want all these things. And I keep trying to explain to them that until we fix this drainage, we can't do anything out there. So once this is complete, that dream might come alive. We'll start looking for that grants to get our splash park, if this is where I think you still would like it to be. I know that we worked with, the mayor sent us some pictures some time ago from some that he saw, some wonderful ideas about how to convert that park. So we'd like to bring that to life at some point, but we can't do anything till we fix it. So as you know, during a really bad storm, there's vehicles that flood out there, so we have to deal with that. So we're getting closer, and just wanted to let everybody know that dream is still on the table for that to become a splash park. Okay.
CJ, anything?
No, I guess the only thing I'd point out is that in the blue area, when that park was originally designed, that was meant to be a wet pond. And then they decided they didn't want the standing water there because of the kids and everything. So it was originally intended to be a lot deeper than what I even believe this will end up being.
Okay. Well, we have resolution 2020-77 in front of us.
Your turn, my turn. I move that we approve resolution 2020-77. Would you like me to read the whole? Yes. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the cooperative funding contract Q197 with the Southwest Florida Water Management District and 2 contracts for engineering services with Wright Pierce for the John Henry Park Stormwater Improvements Option B project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work on that. It's been a long time coming. Item C, resolution 2020-78, a resolution of the City of Williston, Levy County, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2019-2020 general fund budgets and providing an effective date. Finance Director Stephen Bloom.
Good evening, Stephen Bloom, in for Mark. Just kind of as starting with a recap. So if for any of your funds in total, and this is at a fund level, your actual spending exceeds the amount that you budgeted for in total, you are required to do a budget amendment no later than 60 days after year end. So that's what this item you have in front of you here is doing. It's amending both of your general funds, which comprise of your operating side as well as your capital side. Both of them overspent on their annual budget. So that's the first piece. The second piece is that it is transferring some additional money from the utility fund to cover the overall shortfall in the general fund. So it's 2 pieces that we're doing at the same time. Now, we'll talk a little more about the general fund in the next agenda item. But really, when you look at it, a couple good news and some bad news. The good news is your revenue was not as short as we thought it was going to be. So some of that intergovernmental revenue that would, you know, during the middle of the year was really starting to dry up, came in strong at the end of the year, so that did help. The other side of it, and we've talked about this before, from the fire department, it came up well short, or actually overspent by a lot. Almost, I think it's around $120,000. And again, we've talked about that, it's nothing new. So that's really kind of the highlight. And then the last piece is just really more of as a reminder, you know, the city put out $75,000 for the animal shelter. Again, you know, that was originally, way back, was hopefully gonna be a grant. The grant did not work out, so the city had to use cash reserves to cover that. So those are kind of your big picture, you know, pieces that are kind of bringing this all together in terms of requiring the budget amendment and requiring the additional amount from the utility fund to kind of cover your shortfall. So just to kind of give you a reference here, last year, the city and the general fund had to use $100,000 cash reserve, but some of it was budgeted, some of it was a little bit extra. This year, if you don't do a transfer, you're gonna have to use $150,000 roughly. So that's why you're trying to, you know, get a little bit more from the utility fund. It's not something that you wanna do every year. It's not something you wanna do ever, really, because you have it set up. But if you don't, then you're really gonna start having some tight cash flow issues from your general fund, and you just don't want that. So I wanted to make sure everyone was kind of aware of all the pieces to this budget amendment. Any questions, anything specific you want me to cover?
Anybody have any questions? No. Mr. Ross?
No.
No, I understand it, but I don't
Right.
care for it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
not
just-
really.
What is the wish of the council?
It's something we have to do, something
Yes.
Mr. Bloom recommends.
You certainly have to adjust the piece for the expenditures. That's, you know, per the
Right.
Florida statutes. The other piece is kind of recommended, but, you know, again, it's not, the general fund does not have any cash reserves to cover it. If you remember when the city's auditor was here, that was one of the points she made, that, again, we were having now multiple years with the general fund. And that is kind of, you know, the issue that we're now gonna be going into year 3 of every year. You just can't keep using up all the cash reserves. Again, this is just repeating, I know we talked about this during our budget process and everything. So this is kind of, you know, it's a stopgap approach. You know, when we do with the budget season again, as we talked about, you had multiple options: increase from the utility fund, increase taxes, which again, you're past that point, or lower expenses. Those are your 3 options in terms of trying to help the general fund. This is kind of the immediate stopgap. It's not something that you can do every year, to keep doing that. This is kind of what I would say is a one-time deal because of, your revenue is short, because of the additional fire department, expenditures. And again, as we talked about, moving forward into 2021, the chief has a plan to resolve that so that will not continue. But again, there was no way to get any additional funding from the county for all the, the additional incidences of the fire department. So again, this is really kind of hopefully a one-off.
Okay. Well, it's certainly gotta be done with.
All right, I move resolution 2020-78, a resolution of the city of Williston, Florida, recommending the fiscal year 2019, 2020 general fund budgets and providing an effective date.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? You did say amending,
Yes.
not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
if I did, that's your amendment.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
How much are you transferring in the total from
150.
150?
170.
175.
175, actually.
And the way I'm doing it, it's up to 175, which means
Right.
when I get done with, you know, with the final audit adjustments, if we don't need it, I'm not just moving it just to move it. So, but obviously, you gotta put something, a number on the paper.
Transferring it from where to where?
It'll be coming from the utility fund to the general fund.
Any other discussion?
It's just that as we've stated before, just for the public, the overspending for the fire department couldn't be helped. It was our responding to a station that was not funded, that was outside of our jurisdiction.
I'm sorry, that was part of it. Last year, we also put a second man on for 6 months due to pump issues out at Monterey Boat.
Ah, I didn't even know about that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Any other discussion, council? Proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, review of fiscal year 2020 financial report. Boom.
Okay, excuse me. So we'll kind of go through each fund and I'll give you some highlights. Starting with the general fund, and we'll talk revenue first. So overall, the revenue wound up about 96% of budget. Okay, good, it's up there. And then you know, kind of chart one on the right there shows you all the revenue, and the red line is the target, by the way. So anything that's above target, which is really just the local taxes, everything else is below target, but it's not too bad. Again, we're not seeing anything extreme with the exception of interest, which obviously with the markets, you know, there's the kind of interest suffered. But again, revenue wasn't too bad. And it's really when you move over to the next chart underneath that, which is chart 2 on the expenditures, and that's where you kind of see, you know, the fire department sticking out. Again, we just talked about that. Now the good news on the other side of that, there's a lot of your departments in green, which mean they were below budget. So your police department, admin, obviously city council, public works, P&Z, a library, special events, all of those departments came in under budget. That helped. So it really was just the fire. And then we haven't talked a lot about it just because of the dollar amounts are not huge. When you look at it from percentage-wise, legal, because of some of the different things that the legal department was working on, actually was wound up a little bit over budget as well. Again, on the good side, 98% of your property taxes were collected. In addition to that, almost 69,000 in prior year delinquent property taxes came in. And again, that's how it'll look like in 2021. Hopefully some more of this delinquent money will come in. So that's kind of, the big story for the general fund. And then again, really what we were talking about is in terms of your available reserves, if you had exactly what you needed, kind of looking at like a quarter of your total budget, it's about $750,000. Before you did the transfer, and this doesn't show the transfer, you were at about $564,000. So that's your kind of your cash reserves as I calculated it. So again, not too far, but still a significant gap that we just don't want that to keep increasing year over year. And I will point out that your 2021 budget has already made some adjustments to help that, in different positions that you've done. So, in terms of how you structure the budget, there is no cash reserve that's planned to come out of 2021. So again, it's just kind of part of the steps to really help the general fund. Okay, looking at the airports. So in the airports, and again, obviously, the revenue was down. We've kind of talked about this. So kind of, looking at the whole year now, year over year, fuel sales decreased by about 18.5%, or a little bit over $200,000. Now, obviously, you only spend as you're using fuel, so the spending is down as well. Really, your airport fund broke even, which is not, it's kind of pretty good considering where it was. It did a really nice job to kind of end the year breaking even. And really the only thing I just kind of want to reinforce is we have recorded additional AR collection allowances in the airport. And right now our total is about $67,000. And again, as some of that stuff gets collected, because, you know, the airport is really working hard to kind of collect some of this old stuff and work through some leases, all of that money gets released. You know, the allowance is basically just there if you need it. If you don't need it, you kind of release it, and then it'll kind of flow back through your bottom line. So there's an opportunity there for the airport to pick up some more of this money as we go. On the other side of it, again, you want to make sure you have the city covered in case you do have to write off some delinquent accounts. Okay, looking at the CRA, again, when you look at that particular chart in terms of the performance, you see there's check marks all the way down there in terms of revenue, spending, you know, the variable surplus and reserves. All of it looks good. You know, the only thing I will remind is the property that was purchased for a little bit under $100,000. The expectations are that the numbers for the CRA will get better when I do the final adjustments. As we've talked about during the budget process, at the end of the year, we take a look at all of both the Infomar contract, all of the salaries that are going into that particular fund, and that's where we do a final adjustment based on actual usage. So the expectation is, well, no, the numbers will get a little bit better than what you're seeing here. Okay, on the utility fund, okay, we'll start with the top line in terms of revenue. About 94% in terms of revenue, which again is a little bit under obviously what we wanted. You can see the chart 5 there. Gas came in at 103% of budget, really good numbers there. Water came in at 123% of the budget, and sewer came in at 108%. Now, some of that is us being conservative when we do the budget, but I think it does show the growth in those particular utilities. Overall, without the depreciation, the fund itself will generate a surplus of about $418,000. So that, you know, again, that's really the positives on there. And then the available reserves that I've calculated is about $3.2 million in the utility fund. So, you know, we've talked about this before, and you've heard from the auditor, the utility fund is strong and healthy. And then the next chart kind of gives you, again, the breakdown. And you can see when you look at this, obviously the electric department is still the strongest of the services. But when you look at water and sewer, and it's kind of been a slow progress there, but before the transfer, the water department has an operating income of about $57,000, sewer about $9,000. Both of those particular services were well in the negative, you know, 2 years ago, or even 3 years was even worse before kind of the utility rates slowly, you know, increased. So it's good, you know, it's still not breaking even after the transfer, but again, it is kind of a step in the right direction. And then I do have, for just kind of more for a reference point, the next two charts show your capital project spending, you know, for which, you know, the biggest piece so far is your utility, excuse me, your upgrade to your sewer plant, followed by your capital spending, which is kind of shows a breakdown of everything for the full year. And then after that is your outstanding loans. Again, you've got 2 loans, purchase of the fire truck, which has got an amount remaining of about $50,000. So that one is, you know, kind of coming close to the end. And then the construction of the new city hall, which is about $1.2 million that's left. And then really the only thing I just wanted to mention, again, these are your preliminary numbers. The next kind of step will be the 2020 audit. Before the auditors come to, you know, to do their field work and everything, we will do our final adjustments. We take a look at, you know, payroll. We will take a look at all the AR balances, fixed assets. We take a look at any delinquency accounts. So all of that stuff is a final review for the auditors. This will not be the last time that you are forced to kind of take a look at these numbers again. The auditors will obviously present the final report to you, more time to ask questions as we go. And then at some point, you know, the finance team in conjunction with city staff will present some utility write-offs and some airport fund write-offs for AR. It's something we have not done in several years, and it's something that, you know, some of these accounts we really just need to kind of move on from, at least from the city's books. They still can be sent to debt collection agencies, but in terms of clogging up your system, you know, we've done that, you know, we used to do that regularly. We haven't done it in several years, but we do want to bring that in front of the council to kind of take a look at it. And again, it's more about making sure that we're communicating with you what's going on with collections and issues and different things. So I did want to just kind of mention it as the last thing.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bloom?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Good job.
Pretty good.
Good job.
No, I appreciate the comment you made, that we have tried to address these issues going forward and not allow for any reserve funding in the coming years. So we had to make some tough decisions to do that, but
Yeah.
we didn't have a choice. All right, thank you. Okay, item E, first reading ordinance number 688, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, authorizing the submission of amendments to the city charter, amending the compensation of the council members and mayor to the citizens through a referendum, and providing for an effective date. Mayor Robbins.
Oh, okay, me?
Well, I could talk about it if you want me to.
Okay. I do have a question. What is the difference between ordinance number 681 and ordinance 688? And why are we going through this process again?
Yeah, I think that's the same.
Only because we missed
I'll
the
have
deadline.
the city attorney answer that.
I don't have a copy of 681 in front of me.
Got one?
Reason I ask, there is no date effective on 681. There's no date effective on 688, only for the signature to approve the ordinance.
When I looked at it, it was just signature page that was different.
Mayor, you handed me two copies of 681, two versions of 681. One is signed,
Okay, the signed copy is the one I got today.
the July of 2020 is when that was passed and adopted. However, I believe that the election cycle has already gone by, and so the proper method would be to adopt a new ordinance and then put it on the next election.
But in 681, it does not say anything about for that specific time era, period. There's no date, there's no dates on there.
I agree.
So, to me, 681 would be applicable today as 688.
You could certainly take that position, however, I would not want someone to object to 681 saying that the election cycle had already passed during that legislative term, and so now you're just holding it over.
But I guess, and I don't want to argue, but there was no election cycle dated. There was no date on there for a specific election cycle for 681.
Right, there is no date in 681 as to what election cycle. However, the fact is that it occurred during the 2020 election cycle, and we had an election in November, which the information for the referendum should have been on that ballot.
Should have been on it, but it wasn't on it, and there's no mention of it in the ordinance. I think that's my whole point, because it's basically the same ordinance.
I agree, it is essentially the same ordinance. However, we missed the election in November. And so it just to carry it over until we find an election to put it on, we should go ahead and clean it up. And whatever referendum is on a ballot, there should be no, opportunity for someone to object to it.
Well, you said to clean it up, should 681 have been clean enough at the time it was approved?
It was clean enough.
Then what are we cleaning up?
We're cleaning up the fact that it was not put on the next available ballot.
That it doesn't hurt anything to do a new one.
So resend the ordinance?
Well, I had the same question, because I know we've already approved this. I understand your, discussion and explanation of it, so, if that's what our legal counsel advises, then I understand that. But do we have to do anything to rescind 681?
It's already in 688, there's a little paragraph in there that does rescind any prior ordinances relating to this matter.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Where's that paragraph?
Section 5. Conflict, all ordinances or portions of ordinances in conflict are hereby repealed. Now, so this will be voted on tonight and at the next meeting, is that correct?
It'll be voted on tonight, and then it'll be advertised, and, hopefully you'll be voting on it again 10 days after that advertisement.
Okay, were these two meetings here, will that give us enough time to be on the ballot in March?
I don't know that. I don't have that.
I can answer that question. Yes, sir.
It will be.
Yes, sir, it will be. As long as I get it to Ms. Jones by the end of the primary, application due date for applicants for the council.
Okay, and then the due date for the qualifications you're talking about, which is in January, is that correct? Okay, so, okay, all right, okay.
Do we need to put a date in it that addresses a certain election cycle? Or not?
It is not required.
Okay.
It is presumed that you're referring to the next election, which of course is March.
Okay, exactly. Okay.
Let me just state to clarify, this whole issue is to bring this to a vote of the citizens, not, we're basically making a decision to put it in front of them.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions on ordinance number 688?
Sure.
All right.
I move ordinance 688 on first reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, authorizing the submission of amendments to the city charter, amending the compensation for council members and the mayor to citizens through referendum, and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on ordinance 2020-688. Any further discussion? Not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First reading. Item F, discussion with possible action, appointing a temporary appointment to the City Council, Group D. We've discussed this in our last few meetings. We have a vacancy on the council that we need to appoint someone to for the remainder of this year. The seat will then be up for election in March. We have applications from 6 citizens. I think everybody has had a chance to review, I hope. Should I state the names of those? Does that matter?
I'd like to hear them.
Okay. Applicants for this temporary council seat, Group D: Tammy Johns, Angela Pompeo, Perry Adam Clark, Michael Cox, Albert Fuller, Dee Dee Morondo. before we get too far into it, let me first state that I was very pleased that we got 6 applicants for this position. I don't know if we've had 6 people apply for a seat in 3 years, so.
It's been longer.
I've been there 3, and that's what I've seen. So I do appreciate everyone's interest in this. I've even had further questions and comments about it from other names that just didn't apply. So there's been a lot of interest around this. So, with that being said, once again, I just want to thank everybody for being interested in getting involved and trying to be a part of the solution. So with that, I'll open it up to the rest of the council to discuss. Any questions, thoughts? I will say, you know, this is a pretty sensitive matter in my opinion. We have citizens who are willing to step up and help. I think we need to, if we go through one by one, I really don't think we need to do that. But let's be concerned for their welfare and their, you know, willingness to help us. So, it could get, you know, difficult to discuss pros and cons of each one if we go to that level, but we certainly need to be thorough in our decisions. So, with that, I'll let anyone else speak on the council.
Is the floor open for nomination?
Yes, sir.
I nominate Tammy Johns for the remainder of the vacated seat on the city council, temporary.
Okay. Mrs. Wright, have you had discussion with Mrs. Johns?
No, sir. I have.
You have?
And I just didn't want to interrupt someone doing a second. I've actually talked to her about it 2 or 3 times. She did attend our last meeting. She told me she was no longer interested in the position.
Okay.
Right.
I asked her to call and let somebody know that, you know, officially. But she told me, to let them know. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
I would like to nominate Mr. Michael Cox.
Any comments on?
I would just say in doing that, that he has been a regular person who has attended this meeting. He also serves on our Planning and Zoning Commission and has been there for quite a while. And like I said, I know he's been interested for quite a while because he does attend these meetings and probably has for the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, probably longer.
Maybe longer.
He asks questions prior to a meeting and then follows up after a meeting, and I would second that nomination.
Can I make another nomination since mine was not there?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like to nominate Angela Pompeo.
Okay. Any comments on that? Mr. Ross, anything you want to add to that?
No?
Okay. Discussion? Okay.
Want it in the form of a motion?
Well,
How are we gonna proceed?
we've got to decide that.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm you know, trying to decide if I'm going to nominate someone,
Okay.
and we're going to vote.
Go for it. Why not?
I would like to nominate Mr. Albert Fuller. I just know Mr. Fuller's attended some of our meetings, sometimes for comment or input or agenda items, but also he's involved on some of our P and Z boards and stuff as well, so. Okay, so anybody else wanna nominate anyone? Okay,
Make a motion to cease nomination.
all right, nominations.
Okay.
Motion and a second for nominations to cease. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, nominations have ceased, so we have 3 nominees. Okay. Mr. Coberline, we've not discussed this in great detail, not knowing the direction this is gonna go. Can you advise me on the appropriate method to select this or vote on?
Well, unfortunately, my advice isn't concrete, because there's a myriad of methods that you all can decide. Your charter and Florida law gives you a great deal of discretion and latitude, so you're going to have a quorum of your fellow council members decide on how you all want to do this. Do you want to select 2 out of 3, narrow it down to 1? Do you want to do straw ballots and meaning write your selection down and see who has the most, hand them to you, read them out loud? You can go through it several different methods.
Okay. How does the council feel about writing down their top selection and passing it in, and we'll see
Okay, with that.
who has the most votes, and if we have a tie, then we'll have a runoff between potentially
Does the
those
mayor
2.
vote in the tie?
No, sir.
No.
If we have a tie, then we'll have a runoff between those 2. Does anyone want to comment on their nominee? Any further comments?
They may want to make comment. I don't know if they want to make comment or not.
Would you like to ask them? Would that be the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Ross does not like that idea, so let's not.
All right.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Official ballot. Council, if you will write down your top choice, just one choice,
Thank you, sir.
and pass that to me.
It is cold in here. Glad I'm not in it.
While we're getting those gathered up, I want to remind all those replies that may not get appointed to this, that we do have elections coming up in March, and the person who gets appointed will be in that same boat.
And we have lots of open seats on other boards.
Yes.
That's a wonderful place to start, especially if one of them gets elected. Appointed.
We have 1 open seat on planning and zoning.
Well, don't they have one vacancy already?
No, we filled it.
You filled both of them? I've had two.
We have 1 open seat on planning and zoning.
Oh, I thought you had two.
But we're,
You filled
we're
one.
about to maybe have to.
Okay.
Okay, you gonna pass them
I'm sorry.
in? Okay. Mr. Wright, will you take a tally? 1 for Angela Pompeo. 1 for Michael Cox. 1 for Michael Cox. 1 for Albert Fuller. Mr. Cox has received the most votes, therefore is our selection for the appointment to the council. Any other discussion on that?
Unless it needs to be a majority. I've kind of heard that over there. Doesn't need to be a majority of the council? If so, two's not gonna do it.
No, it does not. I said,
Oh.
the majority, when I spoke, was referring to the majority of you all decide what process.
Okay, gotcha. Wonderful.
Okay. Please approach the podium and ask your question. State your name, sir.
My name is Jeff Hardison. I'm a journalist, and my question really is, Mr. President, I'm guessing that everybody picked the persons that they mentioned that they would pick, and we know that there can't be a secret vote by the council, so if they cut through this stuff and say, did y'all do like you said you're gonna do? For instance, Mr. Fuller, Cox, Pompeo. Is that how it went?
Yep.
Thank you.
I presume so.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Hardison brings up a good point, and I think I was remiss in not telling you to put your initials or name on your ballot, so I apologize if we, and I mentioned the ballots just because it might be a little quicker.
Okay.
If you want to do a roll call, ask who did what, or if you want to put your names on.
I voted for Mr. Fuller. Angela Pompeo. Please raise your hand if you voted for her. Michael Cox. Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Hardison.
You're welcome.
Keep us straight.
All right. Mr. Coverland, does that conclude, or do we have to take the final vote to accept the appointment?
It's a good point. We need to, go and accept that nomination and then, set it for a, invitation. Swearing.
Okay.
You do not have to do the swearing.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to accept the nomination for Michael Cox for the special appointment.
I think we accept the nomination of Michael Cox.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Cox.
Woo-hoo.
Now, we need to set, a date,
Next council meeting?
Next meeting, general meeting?
beginning of next meeting.
You're gonna need to be sworn in.
Yeah.
You'll need to be sworn in.
Did we say that was the?
First agenda item,
December.
December 8th. Are you available?
Okay.
Who will you get to swear him in?
This is right. Would you find someone to swear him in? On
Can the
December
mayor
8th?
do that?
No.
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 We'll see if we can get
Judge Browning,
Or
Judge Browning or Judge Smith.
Judge Browning or Judge Smith, one of them.
potentially, Ms. Wright, will you handle that and make sure it's, first on the agenda? So that Mr. Cox can participate.
That'd be good.
Mr. Cox, wave your hand so people will know who you are. Thank you.
He sits back there every meeting.
He does, he's right there, he holds
And
down
you
that
can
chair.
learn.
Well, I want to, as we close that, I'll say, there were some very good applications.
Oh, my
for
gosh.
this position. I was kind of shocked at how many we got. So thank all of you, and don't lose that, drive to get involved. Thank you.
January, you'll be here before they know it.
President Head.
Yes.
Just want to let the one know that applications are available for pickup for council meeting. So if you're interested for the March election, see me, call me, or whatever.
Mrs. Gorman, did you have something?
For those who had an application, don't forget, we have one seat open on planning board, and that's a really important board to be on. You learn a lot about the city, so. Two? I didn't say one.
I had one 10 minutes ago.
No, now we have two, sorry, I forgot, yeah. So now we have two open seats for any of these applicants that would like to,
And where would they get that application?
in our office,
or a front desk, we can provide it.
All right.
I think it may be on the website as well.
Yeah. Call, email, we'll get it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Item 6, public participation. This is your second and last chance for public participation. If you would like to speak, please come to the podium and state your name, city of residence. You'll have 5 minutes.
Terry Witt, Bronson. Does that matter?
You're a journalist.
Journalist. We have no home. But anyway, I was curious about these reports that you're giving to the council. Are they weekly or daily, or, and could I be copied on your?
Public information, happy to do it. It's a weekly report. I just update them on internal, things that are being worked on, things that we're restructuring or reorganizing, or any things that might be coming up that I think they need to know about. And that's basically what our report's about. And by all means, I can put you on the list.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anybody online here?
Nope.
Wayne, anybody outside? Nope. Okay, item 7, announcements from council. Mr. Ross, do you have anything? Mr. Jones? Mayor?
Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, y'all.
I want to say thank you to the mayor for Veterans Day. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Mayor and Tricia.
I know my veterans enjoyed it. Yes, and all the others that were
Vice
there.
President Robinson, do you have anything?
The happy Thanksgiving, safe Thanksgiving also, and I do appreciate Jackie's weekly reports because they save her time and us time of going into her office one by one and talking to her about the same thing over, and it saves time, it saves us money. Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk, so I'll make this brief, but I just want to thank the staff, everybody, for what you've done over the last few months. It's been I should probably say 6 months through 8 months, whatever. COVID, transitions, openings, new hires, moving people around. I know it's been a very trying time for everybody, so I just want to thank the staff for stepping up and doing your part. I want to encourage everybody to continue to work together. There's probably some growing pains going on. There's some changes going on. There's people in new positions. So feel free to come talk to us or whoever you need to, or city manager, or CJ, or Patricia. But let's continue to work together to iron those little bumps out. And I think after we get through the end of the year, we're going to be moving in a great direction for a very, very prosperous next year. So thank you all for what you've done.
Thank you.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn. Whoops.
Excuse me. Oh, I just have one thing on the legislation. At the last council meeting, I was absent, and I would like to thank Laura Jones very much for taking my spot and taking the minutes. She did a wonderful job.
You're here.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody? Okay.
I move that we adjourn.
I second the motion.
Motion to second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
You scared me.
I got it all mixed up with my glasses and everything else.
All right, wait.